Hi, I'm Bob Greenstreet. I am Professor and Dean Emeritus of Architecture and Urban Planning at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. And ACSA distinguished professors are putting together a series of conversations about academic progress and leadership. And I was asked to give some thoughts on the matter. Unfortunately, since Marvin Maleka passed from us, I really haven't spent much time talking to other administrators. And my efforts to have a cage fight with John Meunier have fallen on deaf ears. So my strategy really is just to present a 10-point guide to academic administration that may be of some minor use. The sources of this are twofold. That the first is a new book published by Routledge entitled A Survivor's Guide for Academic Administrators. And this is written by myself and Dr. Karen Greenstreet, and so this presentation is in fact a shameless plug for that book. In addition to that, many of the points that are raised in this presentation are part of the 22 or so years that Marvin and I, with Rodner Wright and many other administrators, put together the New Administrators Workshop for ACSA. And these are some points derived from that process that took us many years to many places. The first point is number one, which is think big. You can't be a good leader unless you see the big picture, but you have to keep it simple and direct. Focus on the big stuff, ignore the details, the yes buts, the difficulties, keep your eyes on the horizon. Filter out the noise of less important material, stick to major principles, and if you don't, you're quickly going to get immersed in details that could confuse the outcome of a vision. And actually, for right-brained architects, that's actually a lot easier than you'd think. Point two, talk straight. Someone once said, sincerity is the key to good leadership. If you can fake that, you're in. And I think that was an episode of Friends, actually. This is not actually the best advice I can think of. Every day you talk to many people, often on the same subject, and if you spin a different story, tell a slightly different story to make people feel good, to make yourself look better, you are going to get caught out, ultimately. Maybe not immediately, but when you do, there goes your credibility. Tell the truth at all times, be economical with it. Everybody doesn't need to know everything all the time, but be direct and honest, even if it may be uncomfortable at times. It's better to be known in the long run as a trusted and honest leader whose words have credibility and consistency. Point three, simplify, then simplify again. There are endless complications, nuances, and complexities in every day's administration. Once you've cleared the noise to give you a chance to think big, don't blow it by talking gibberish. Reduce your message to manageable concepts, short sentences, clear examples, no jargon, appropriate metaphors, no graphs, and repeat as often as possible. Alter the tone and length depending on the audience, but keep it simple and keep it consistent, and only elaborate when asked. Point four, borrow freely. There's very little that is new in academic administration. It's all been done before, and a lot of very smart people have come before us, and they've tried just about everything. Don't reinvent the wheel. Find out what others have done and shamelessly appropriate their ideas, adapting them as necessary. Marvin and I, we pilfered each other's ideas for years. We were known as the bubonic plagiarists. We would take the ideas, we would give credit, but we would take the ideas and we would embellish them, we would alter them, and we'd make them better. So no pride, just take those ideas and run with them. Point five, make sense of it all. Semesters begin with a bang. They hurtle at breakneck speed through final juries and examinations, and they end abruptly in December and May. Despite everyone's best efforts, progress towards programmatic goals, and even a clear awareness of the program's identity may be unclear or unshared by the players in the frantic rush to get the work done. You just may not see the big picture. Try and develop a detached, critical overview of your program, its history, its character, its stated goals, and be the commentator on its development. It's useful for presentations to alumni and other groups, but it also helps to create internally a comprehensive narrative about the school. Making sense of everything, keeping it simple, is a useful skill, one that communicates the essence of your program to your constituents, and it can help engage your colleagues in constructive discourse about the future. You're the chief storyteller. Tell the story well. So the first 5 points there were really about being an administrator. The next 5 points are about staying an administrator. Now, the average length of tenure for a dean seems to be anywhere from 3.6 to 5 years. For a vice-chancellor, even shorter. Marvin once served 8 vice-chancellors in 7 years. The turnover is quite strong. So the mere act of survival is in itself something of an achievement. Marvin and I both survived over 35 years each. We weren't particularly good at what we did, but we were good at staying and continuing what we did. There was a rumor going around that should there be nuclear holocaust, that it would be Keith Richards, Marv and Bob, and the cockroaches that would survive. As I say, I don't think we were terrifically good, but I think we had a long-term strategy that enabled us to get stuff done over a longer period of time. So here are some 5 points that we derived from what we think kept us in our places. Number 1, don't bear a grudge. Every day people are going to really get your goat. They might not mean to, or they may have every intention of driving you to distraction, but whatever the cause, there's going to be irritation. It's the nature of your job. Being in a position of authority, you may have the opportunity to retaliate, get back at them in big ways, tenure, pay increases, things like that, or in small ways, travel funding, teaching assignments, office assignments, things. Don't retaliate. An administrator doesn't have the luxury to adopt the maxim, don't get mad, get even. First, it actually really doesn't feel very good. But more importantly, if your actions are viewed as petty and vindictive, your stock as a leader is ultimately diminished. Rise above the irritation. It's a more sustainable and appropriate response for a long-term leader. Second point of the staying as a leader. See the best in everyone and the bright side of everything. You may not believe all your colleagues are doing the things the way you want them to be done, or that aspects of the program are as good as they should be. That's our job. Do the best you can as the first among equals to effect positive change. That is also your job. However, despite all your efforts, you might not succeed. Tenure and faculty governance being what they are, forcing change may be hard, frustrating, and ultimately unsuccessful. Try a change in attitude, yours. Try and look at the best and most positive attributes of people and work with them. Sure, Professor X is not the most active senior member. He hasn't done a lick of research in 20 years, but he's a pretty good teacher, popular with students and alumni, quite used to being underappreciated by his colleagues. Encourage his teaching, take him out to an alumni event, put him forward for a teaching award. You'd be surprised by the response. Might not work, but it's worth a try if it re-engages him just a little bit. Third point. Go with your strengths. Administrators, we all have different styles, different strengths. If you're a detailed-oriented person, focus on the inner workings of your school, but be careful if you enter an arena that expects you to be a vision person or the outside dean. Transition may be very difficult. Play to your strengths, don't try and change. Be true to your core characteristics and choose a role, and more importantly, a school to lead which is compatible to your skills. Even if the match isn't perfect, do your job in the best way that utilizes your skills the most effectively. The results are likely to be better than if you try and retool in mid-task. Another point, do it with humor. Leaders are constantly asked to say a few words. Speak at a conference or a meeting, provide opening remarks at any number of events. You could be doing 3 or 4 of these a day. Humor is a serious tool that can set the tone, leaven an otherwise doughty comment, and actually increase the likelihood that people are going to listen to you if they're interested or entertained. Of course, not everyone's a natural comedian, so choose your material very carefully. Keep a file of short jokes, anecdotes, quotations, statistics, lists, whatever. Anything that might one day be relevant to commentary that you have to make. Even the dullest of bureaucrats can lighten up a presentation with a well-chosen quote or an appropriate aphorism. So those are my points, which I hope may be of some interest to people. I'm now emeritus, which I believe is Latin for sad old guy. Let me assure you there is life after administration. I'm currently sitting in Oxford doing some almost unintelligible research on the originality of architecture. Good luck with your work, and as you proceed in academic administration, three possible sources for the future. The first I've mentioned and plugged shamelessly, which is the book Survival Guide for Academic Leaders. Secondly, this presentation has also been typed out, used several times at the administrator's workshop. If you want a copy with a few other written pieces, send me an email, bobg@uwm.edu. And thirdly, we put together a fairly huge compendium of advice on academic administration from ACS leaders some years ago, that I believe ACSA has in its data bank, called the New Administrators Handbook, which may still contain some information, a little outdated now, but maybe of use. So good luck, and thanks for listening.